All right, guys, welcome back. This is Benjamin Hadfield, Teach Me to Dive, technical dive instructor in Idaho. We've been having a great conversation with Mike. And Michael is just this amazing wealth of knowledge. I mean, he's got information from Dan, he's got information from GUI, InDEPTH magazine, and he happens to be a contributing editor to both, and so he's kind of got the backstage access, if you will, to some of the really coolest studies and understanding. Plus, being a technical diver himself, really has this deeper understanding to get us to where we want. Mike, thank you so much for coming back.
It's really good to be here. I'm enjoying this. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. The good news with divers is it doesn't take much to get us talking about diving anyway. So,
right.
Right on. If you get a chance, make sure you go to InDEPTH magazine. It's put out by GUI. Mike's got a tremendous amount of amazing articles. I've been reading his stuff for a while. He just didn't realize it, and then I refreshed myself on a couple this morning as well, just to make sure. But I was like, wait a minute, I read that article. Wait a minute, I read that article. I read that article. So it was interesting to go back and like, wait a minute, I've already read all these. Mike, I need more information. I need more stuff. I'm like 25, right. More data.
So we're working on it. We have an issue actually coming out a week from Thursday, so I'm hard at work right now on it. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. Awesome. I look forward to reading your stuff. Absolutely. So I've read it on both Dan Europe as well as on InDEPTH, and I'm constantly reading depth because I do love the GUI stuff. That's quite a bit. So, Mike, let's jump into it. Looking back on your own diving journey, is there something you wish you'd been a part of your training, both in open water and technical driving, that could have enhanced your safety and understanding of the sport?
Good question. I'm not sure if I missed anything along the way. Good. Yeah, good. I'm not sure I answered that. Yeah. I personally am the perpetual student. I love learning about things. I would hate to know it all because it would be so boring. So I as part of my dive education, I'm just free forming it now. I think it's good to try different things. For example, freediving comes to mind. I'm an intermediate freediving as well. I recommend any tech diver should take a freediving class because they learn a ton on physiology. Freedivers are kind of the brothers and sisters of tech divers. I mean, particularly the competitive ones, the people doing competition. It is very technical. They're very geeky. The difference is where we're geeking out on our gases and equipment, they're geeking out on their physiology, how they move their gas from their lungs to their mouth to equalize the depth, all that sort of stuff. So that's something I would have liked to have taken earlier. I've taken it now. So that's something good. Also, I tell tech divers, even if you're an open water diver, you should take a cave diving class. It's just good, even if you're not going to, continue on as a cave diver forever. Just great learning, great skills, and a different environment to check out. So I think it's good to have a wider range of knowledge, and we try to do that in InDEPTH. I think of it as what a thinking diver should know about, for example. So a broad number of topics. Yeah.
I would agree with that, and I never thought about the freediving, but I think that's absolutely something I would like to take up and explore to understand. But I've told that to people like cave diving for years: is that even if you don't want to cave dive, you have to get to a level of expertise and understanding. Plus, it just helps your mental awareness as well as your stress management.
It does. Different experience. It broadens your capability. Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. Now, could you highlight one or of the most interesting or groundbreaking studies that you're working on currently or you've seen in decompression research? And what were the key findings and implications that you found to be the most interesting out of that?
Well, this isn't directly on decompression theory, but I think one of the most interesting papers lately has been on gas density. I think people are now just starting to appreciate the understanding of it. And this is that lungs, our respiratory system, our muscles, and it's work. It takes work to breathe. And as we go deeper, the gas gets denser, more compressed, and it requires more work. This has profound implications for our physiology, as we talked about a little, because it can create CO2 buildup, and our muscles can just not be able to, work hard enough to get rid of all the CO2. So this certainly affects tech dives, but it also affects recreational diving. The recommendations are that you should never have your gas density above, we're getting geeky here, 6.2 grams a liter. That is equivalent to breathing air at about 137 feet. So it's another reason why deep air is just a bad idea. So I think has profound implications, the whole gas density thing, certainly on deep diving and others. So I think that has really changed our understanding quite a bit. And the agencies now are going back and, kind of recalculating things and making density a part of diver education. Do you talk about this in your classes and at what level? The tech level or recreational, both, or?
Only tech level. As we start talking about, we started introducing it in the class just before trimix. So when we start getting an extended range, which would be the SSI version, or decompression procedures in my SDI or TDI courses, that's where I start introducing it, so that there's a basic understanding, so that they're prepared to move into trimix.
Yeah. So I think that's a paper. Other things, some new developments, certainly in diver monitoring. Again, I think this is a hot area. There's some really exciting work going on. I just saw a presentation by Dr. Rachel Vance from Duke, a paper that she's done, and they have a system that can detect the onset of oxygen toxicity by the sound of your breathing. Kind of interesting. It monitors your breathing. It's AI generated. So this is right now being productized. I mean, the research is done and they're developing a device to do that. So that's pretty exciting, actually.
By the sound of your breathing.
Yeah.
We're in a whole new world. I'm surprised with AI out there that we haven't had larger advances with the amount of AI coming in and adding into research to be creative, predictive models on some of the things that we're doing at this point. That we haven't seen a bigger jump. What do you think the role of AI is?
Part of that is data. For example, that's why I think it's exciting that we have all these monitoring devices, because we can start getting data and then using AI to find patterns, right? To find like this thing on breathing, being able to see when people breathe, and then when they have a toxicity event, the computer AI can kind of sort that out, the data, and measure it. So whereas we couldn't do it ourselves, but the computers can do it. So we need the data to make AI work. Otherwise, it doesn't have anything to work on. So, but we're getting there. That's the good news. Yeah.
That's amazing, and definitely another. We're going to need to look up that the article and study by Rachel and add that to the notes as well.
Yeah.
That'll be amazing.
She actually has we held Rebreather Forum for all the presentations are on video and they're all available. We're now we've released day 1, 2, and now we're releasing day 3. Her talk's one of them, and they're free. They're on GUE TV. GUE.tv. So if you Google GUE.tv and RF4 or Rebreather Forum 4, it'll come up. And again, it's free content by some of the leading people on the planet. So yeah,
that is amazing. So GUE.tv is definitely somewhere we need to go. That is for sure.
Yeah.
So
these are free. It's a subscription site, but this is on the public facing side of the paywall.
Free site, yeah. Absolutely. No, that's awesome. More stuff for me to watch. My wife will be thrilled that we have more diving videos to watch at night. we don't watch Netflix. We watch GUI.
Right.
Awesome. So, Michael, as we kind of go through this, Dive Alert Network plays a huge role in promoting dive safety. How has your work with Dan Europe contributed to improving the safety of divers, and what initiatives or resources should divers be aware of through this?
Well, all the Dans publish a lot of good safety information from studies and from people's experience. So that, we're going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, right? It's human nature to screw up. And what we want to do is create diving systems where, as when we screw up, we don't die for it, right? We just screw up and call failing safely. We want to have systems where we fail safely. And I think the Dans are both, dedicated to working to help us get the data, understand what's going on, and then, create means safety, create ways to improve our safety, through more information, through pre-dive and post-dive briefings, et cetera. So that is their thrust.
That's awesome. So are there any specific safety tips or best practices you'd like to share, especially for divers who may not be aware of the latest safety advancements and knowledge in the field?
Good question. I mean, the most important thing, what is the most important thing? Is to pay it. We don't breathe water, unfortunately. So when we go underwater, we need to pay good attention, right? There's not a magic bullet to safety, but it's being aware that you're going into the environment. It's doing the things that we know help improve safety, like a pre-dive checklist, like diving with a buddy, like always analyzing your gases, whatever you're breathing. Doing those steps, are going to go a long way in preventing us when we do make a mistake that we don't have a horrible consequence as a result. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So personally, I'm sure you have to have some stress management dynamics that you teach or utilize in the accident awareness forum. So you get into that deep situation that becomes a problem. How do you handle stress and in an emergency situation?
Right. I mean, I think that's where practice really makes a difference. What is my phone asking me here? Something. I think it's needing more recording space. I'm sorry, I blanked. Ask me a question again. I'm sorry.
What specific safety tips do you have, like best practices, would you share, especially with divers who may not be aware of the latest safety advancements and knowledge in the field? Oh, I'm sorry. That was my previous question. I apologize.
Yeah.
Stress management. What do you talk to us about?
Stress management. So I think this is partly addressed with training. GUE deals with this. Others do too. It's the practice. So, for example, in GUE classes, it's about problem solving. If you take a tech class with them, you're gonna have gas leaks. Your manifolds are gonna go down. You're gonna lose your face mask. The instructor in a course, there's usually a whole set of problems that you need to work through. And by doing that and practicing it, then when it really happens, you don't want to share gas for the first time when there's someone really out of gas, right? Because that's going to be stressful. But if if on every dive, often in GUE, what we say is we practice something on every dive. Practice a gas share, practice a gas switch. And by practicing these things, practicing what happens when things go wrong, then when things do go wrong, it's like you've done it 50 times. So it's like, no big deal. Turn off the gas, switch regulators, etc. So practice is the antidote to stress management. I think, yeah.
I would agree with that completely. Being aware what is the situation going to look like, and as we train is how we live. I like that a lot.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and it's something you get in classes, but it's something you can just, do on dives. Again, in GUE, we frequently, at the end of a dive or whatever, just practice a skill or two, or maybe on the way down, so it becomes muscle memory. Yeah.
Absolutely. So can you give us any preview of your upcoming and latest article that's getting ready to be released?
So in the coming issue, we have a couple of things. It's GUE's 25th anniversary.
Oh, wow.
So we're taking a little time to celebrate that. We have a story by Jared Jablonski, the founder of GUE, and kind of a perspective piece from him on 25 years, watching this thing grow, watching tech grow. So we have that. I actually do have a story called "Why Every Tech Diver Should Take a Freediving Class" by a guy named Ted Hardy, who's a freediving instructor trainer, was a scuba diver and became a freediver instructor trainer. A very good piece on emergency information. Recently, there was a diving fatality. The person didn't have they couldn't get in his phone afterward. He had no emergency contacts. So it created a whole cluster after the incident, which was very traumatic for the family, the people involved, etc. So this article is on the information you should have ready, part of your kit when you go diving, just in the event the worst happens. And then I have this interview I think I mentioned with uber deep cave diver Xavier Meniscus, French cave diver. One of the, there's probably a hand, maybe 10 people in the world who are doing these super deep cave dives. Mostly men, a couple of women, Karen Vanderpas, who just South African, who just made the world's deepest women's cave dive. To I think 250 meters, 248 meters, something like that. So an interview with him, how he does what he does. He's an ex-military and ex-commercial sat diver who got into cave diving. He's now a cave instructor. And they're just doing amazing things. Him and a few other people. So I have an interview with him in this coming issue as well. So that'll be the issue, yeah.
That'll be exciting. We'll have to definitely look out for that as well.
Yeah.
All right, Michael. So as editor-in-chief of InDEPTH magazine, can you tell us anything about recent articles or topics that have really been particularly well received and generated the most interest in the dive community?
Well, this month, actually, we have a story. It's technical diving. It's free diving. We have a story called Doping for Depth. And this came out of, there was the Vertical Blue freediving competition last month. And there was a controversy around it. They caught or alleged that several people there were using doping to improve their performance on competitive freediving. I heard this and it was like, doping? Like, what drugs would you take to do a better freedive? I mean, right? So I assigned it to one of our good writers as a freediver. And it's really a fascinating story on what chemicals can actually make a difference in freediving. And then just the whole issue, how prevalent is this? Is this a problem in competitive freediving, et cetera? So that's been a very well-read article. Another super well-read article was, we've just done a man named Richard Harris, Dr. Harry. He was the anesthesiologist who knocked out the Thai kids and saved their lives. He just did the first hydrogen rebreather dive. It was a test dive to 230 meters in Pierce Resurgence. It has never been done before. The reason they're doing it is because at those depths, when you start hitting 250 meters, the gas density is so high that your work of breathing is above is in the red zone. And this can cause, again, all these problems. So the idea is by substituting hydrogen for helium, hydrogen is half the weight of helium, you can reduce the work of breathing. And also hydrogen is slightly narcotic at depth, less than nitrogen, but narcotic. And so the idea is that this will help ameliorate high pressure nervous syndrome that is caused by rapid compression. So Harry did this. I mean, the article is called N equals 1. The conclusion was the probability of survival on a hydrogen dive is greater than 0. He did it. It worked. And actually had some interesting results. He found that Harry, generally, anytime they're diving below 180 meters, his hands start shaking. So you're at depth, and your hands are shaking. Sitting on the couch, not a big deal, but at great depth underwater, you want your body behaving. So when Harry went to the hydrogen, he said it completely stopped. He was rock solid, whereas his dive partner, who's less sensitive to him, was visibly shaking. So it had some positive results. So the issue is, could hydrogen be kind of the next step? We're kind of maxed out at 250, 270 meters. We're just not going to go physiologically. We're at our physiological limits. So we need something new that might be hydrogen gas that can maybe extend our range from 250 down to 350 meters. So, 12, 13, 1400 feet. That would open up more caves, more shipwrecks, but it's unknown. I mean, the other alternative is 1 atmosphere suits. Iron Man underwater, like Phil Newton, who just another one of our great pioneers who just passed away recently. That may be another technology to take us forward. So, and the whole tech ethos is, well, the whole diving ethos is go deeper, stay longer. I mean, that's the history of diving, right? From the get-go.
Exactly.
It's our path. Yeah. And now there are people like Deep.com who set their mission is to put people underwater, to have a underwater presence, to make us aquatic. So that's kind of exciting too, what's going on.
Move us to become aquanauts.
Right, exactly. Well, they have these modular habitats. I think the company is set up to help to help scientists, to help other groups, make their way and colonize the underwater world. So that's their goal. So it should be pretty interesting.
That should be interesting as well. Well, Michael, anything else you'd like to share with us?
I'm just happy to be here. Happy to be talking about diving. It's certainly we live in some exciting times. I think. The last 30 years have certainly been exciting with the advent of mixed gas diving, but I think now with the combination of diver monitoring, which will improve our knowledge of things, and then also our data collection tools, photogrammetry and digital imaging, I think this is going to help us kind of continue forward, and I think we're going to have an exciting next 30 years. Yeah.
I think most people don't realize how infancy technical diving really is. I mean, and getting to this point where we've reduced our chance of getting the bends from, substantial to pretty minute, really, if you do the safety ideas and you stay within the predefined limits. So
yeah. One last exciting thing about tech. Again, we seem to be talking about freediving a lot today, but sure. Oh well. Technical freediving. This is the cutting edge right now.
Okay.
Just as tech divers, scuba divers adopted mixed gas technology, freedivers are now adopting mixed gas technology. Here's why.
Okay.
The breath hold limit, static breath hold. So breathe and just face down in a pool. How long can you hold your breath? The world record is 11 minutes and 30 seconds. Pretty significant for sure. Breathing pure oxygen and then holding your breath, the record is 23 minutes. So what happens is if you breathe an enriched air oxygen mix, a 50 mix, a 75 pure oxygen, you can both extend your breath hold substantially, and you can reduce the risk of hypoxia. The biggest risk in freediving is blacking out underwater, right, and drowning as a result if your buddy's not there to save you. So the thought is that by breathing an enriched oxygen mix, you can extend your breath hold and you can do it more safe. So so the idea is you come up to the surface and rather than breathe, you just put a regulator in your mouth, breathe nitrox, hold your breath and go back down. So that's sort of the cutting edge right now of mixed gas technology. Yeah. It's being used. It was pioneered by a guy named Kirk Kroc, who formed Performance Freediving International. He was the go-to guy on Avatar. He did all the underwater work for Avatar, the breath hold, and they were all on nitrox and oxygen. So all the breath hold work in the Avatar movie, they have tens of thousands of dives on nitrox and oxygen. And so there is good data to show that no hypoxia incidents, and they can greatly extend their breath hold. Yeah. So
technical freediving. We are living in exciting times, that's for sure.
You should do an episode about it. There's a lot of. I can send you a link to an article. There's a lot. It's a lot of. Yeah.
Please do. I would love to do an episode on that. Absolutely, and learn more about that and get a better understanding. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's being used now too in competitions for the safety divers. You know, they're there and they're making 30, 40 dives over and over and over, building up stuff in their inert gas in their tissues. So they're using again oxygen or nitrox to increase their safety because they're going up and down all day in the competition. So yeah,
that is crazy. Absolutely. Well, Michael, thank you for taking the time with me today. We've taken more of your time than I anticipated, and I'm grateful for all of it. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Michael Menduno, InDEPTH magazine editor-in-chief, Dan Europe editor-in-chief. He is the man to talk to because he knows everybody and he's got all this amazing information. Now, again, my name is Benjamin Hadfield. I'm Teach Me to Dive. I'm here in Idaho and Florida as well, of course. And we teach technical diving and help bring good information like this to you. Now, if you like this kind of information, again, subscribe to our channel. Make sure you hit the like button, all that fun stuff. And give us comments. What do you think of this kind of stuff? Tell us what you think of Mike. Now, make sure to look in the description as well, because we'll make sure to get a lot of great links from Mike on this to allow you to go over to InDEPTH. GUI TV is an amazing resource. If you're not a member of GUI TV, you should be. The subscription is nominal, and it's far better than Netflix. I promise you right now. You'll enjoy it more than Netflix.
More diving content for sure.
A lot more diving content. You get there's like 2 articles right now or movies on diving on Netflix. And one of them's the Meg 2. Yeah, please don't watch the Meg 2. It's not about diving, I promise you. Anyway, we love this kind of stuff. We appreciate you. Mike, have a great day.
Thank you so much, Benjamin. All right. Take care. Bye, everybody.